Was quite simply Hollywood royalty, and she will be deeply missed by millions. Here's more on her remarkable life and career from CNN's Stephanie Elam.
We're alone now and I'm singing my song for you.
Singer, dancer, actress. Debbie Reynolds was a Hollywood triple threat and America's sweetheart. Her film career began at the age of 16 after being spotted in a beauty pageant.
I'm laughing at clouds.
Her star officially launched just a few years later after a spirited performance opposite Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor in 1952's Singin' in the Rain.
They picked me to put me in Singing in the Rain, then they just locked me in a big old studio, and for 3 months I had 5 different teachers, one for tap and ballet, jazz, modern, and I just worked, you know, till I would just fall apart.
Tammy, Tammy.
Other notable roles followed, including 1957's Tammy and the Bachelor, which resulted in her #1 hit song, Tammy. She played opposite Gregory Peck in How the West Was Won, and her performance in The Unsinkable Molly Brown earned her an Oscar nomination.
I'm gonna learn to read and write.
Beloved on screen, at times, Reynolds' life off-screen overshadowed her success. She had 2 children with her first husband, crooner Eddie Fisher, producer Todd Fisher, and actress and author Carrie Fisher. In 1959, the marriage ended in a highly publicized divorce when Fisher left Reynolds to marry her close friend, Elizabeth Taylor. A painful betrayal, Reynolds was able to joke about the scandal years later.
I was a Girl Scout. I really was really a simple little girl, and that's what I was. And he fell madly in love with Elizabeth. There's nothing, now I understand, you know, so many years later, and it's in the past.
Her second and third marriages also ended in divorce, each time causing Reynolds financial pain. However, she had quietly been collecting Hollywood memorabilia over the years that would prove a wise investment. In 2011, Reynolds sold Marilyn Monroe's white subway dress at auction for $4.6 million.
Singing is my celebration dance.
She also never quit performing. Though she stepped away from film for much of her career, Reynolds continued to entertain on Broadway stages and in Las Vegas nightclubs.
All I need is...
In addition, Reynolds had several TV roles over the years, notably playing Liberace's mother in the 2013 Emmy-winning TV movie Behind the Candelabra. Her wide array of work was recognized in 2015 when the Screen Actors Guild honored Reynolds with the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Debbie Reynolds.
Reynolds says she loved every minute she spent in show business in her 2013 autobiography, Unsinkable. She credited the love she had for her friends and family for her personal and professional resiliency.
I paid $20,000 for this sucker.
And it is that spark and sense of humor, along with her talent, that Reynolds will be remembered for.
I love you. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Well, joining us now on the phone is Matthew Bellany. He's executive editor of The Hollywood Reporter. And Matthew, we were just speaking last night about Carrie Fisher, and here we are 24 hours later about her mother. Just such a sad 24 hours for the family.
It's unbelievably sad, and I think that, you know, just a tragic week, considering it started last Friday with the news that Carrie Fisher had a cardiac episode on her flight back to Los Angeles from London, and now, you know, less than a week later, she's gone, and her mother is gone as well.
Debbie Reynolds, just help place her for us in the Hollywood pantheon as it is, I mean, through the years. I mean, really one of those lasting stars and stories.
Oh, absolutely. She's a legend. I mean, it started going all the way back to Singing in the Rain in the heyday of the Hollywood musicals. And, you know, through her lifetime of work and her, you know, personal issues, the stuff that got into the public eye with her husband, Eddie Fisher, and him leaving her for Elizabeth Taylor, and, you know, that being a tabloid sensation before there was the internet or any of the tabloid stuff we know now, to the fact that her daughter is Carrie Fisher. And, you know, she continued to work all the way up into her 70s and 80s.
And how much should we expect? I suppose it's natural to imagine she loses her daughter, and this sparked her own passing.
Yeah, I mean, her agent just told The Hollywood Reporter that she's with Carrie, and I think that says a lot about how she was feeling after this tragic news from yesterday. She was taken to the hospital this afternoon, and we're just getting word now of her death. So the whole thing is just an unbelievable tragedy.
How do we expect Debbie Reynolds to be remembered and honored after her passing now, particularly so soon after her daughter?
I think the legacy will be as a performer, and the fact that she, came of age at a time when Hollywood movies really meant something in the world, and she was a star opposite Gene Kelly and in some of the most classic movies in Hollywood history, but also as an enduring star. The fact that she was able to keep working and she was able to, maintain a name for herself in a very cutthroat industry throughout her life.
It's interesting. I kind of feel like a sandwich generation here because I certainly was influenced by Star Wars, but also I remember watching Singing with the Rain with my dad. I mean, my dad always loved that movie, not obviously originally when it came out, but I mean, here you have two iconic films, right, of that century.
Absolutely. Singing in the Rain was something of a sensation when it came out, and in much the same way that Star Wars was to a later generation and creating the modern movie blockbuster and what that meant to the current generation. The fact that, it was nice that she did a documentary with Carrie Fisher that's going to air on HBO next year. And I think there's going to be a lot of interest in that, and added interest in that now, just because both of them are not with us anymore. And I think we're going to really see the bond that they had together and the fact that they had overcome a lot of issues that they had in their lives.
Matthew Bellany, thanks so much, and we're sorry for you to leave you tonight with this sad news, but thanks very much for watching. A CNN special report follows.
If you look back at her life and in the challenges that she faced, it wasn't completely plain sailing. She married Eddie Fisher, the father of Carrie and Todd, in 1955. That ended in divorce, and she married 2 more times after that. And she was able
let's start with Eddie Fisher, the most public affair, in history. Carrie said when Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt were getting together, "Oh, I've been through this," though she was a little child when her father left. I know what it's like I know what it was like for my mother to have the most, public betrayal. So Debbie divorced her Eddie Fisher, and they were not on good terms ever again. And Carrie didn't have much relationship with her father. She tried, and he just wasn't capable of it. Then Debbie married 2 more times, notably to men who left her with enormous debt. I mean, she was down to her last penny. And every bit of that debt was paid by Debbie. She worked, she did a nightclub act, she did everything she could, got a hotel in Vegas. She was just rolled up her sleeves, and instead of walking away from that debt and saying, "Oh, well, it's my husband," it was my husband, she paid it. She and Carrie both loved to kid about the fact that the one thing they didn't excel in is understanding men. Now, we have to remember, Carrie had a daughter. And her daughter, Billie Lourd, is in her 20s, becoming an actress, very close to Debbie. Debbie played cards with her. They were very close, grandma and daughter. And the person you really have to understand must be going through just torture right now is Billie Lourd, the daughter of Carrie, the granddaughter of Debbie.
Jeannie, just give us an idea how challenging, how difficult it would have been for a young 19-year-old teenager in this golden era of Hollywood. What barriers would she have been forced to break down in order to reach the heights that she eventually did? Well,
you've got to remember, at 2 years before she became Princess Leia, she was in a very grown-up movie, Shampoo, and with a lot of emotions and, a lot of talk of sexuality for a teenage girl. As Princess Leia, she went into it kind of casually. She said, "Oh, I'm going to make this cute little sci-fi movie," and loved doing it, had fun, but she said she was constantly scared to death looking around at all these famous people. And then, of course, Star Wars took off in a way no one could have predicted. An international phenomenon. Her mother, too, faced fame. And for Carrie, the notion of having a mother who was famous, who was always on the road, Carrie sang in her act, when she was 12 years old, and she had a real love conflict relationship with her mother. On one hand, she said, my mom tried her best to be a real mother, not some celebrity mother, but her mother was traveling a lot, leaving the kids, single mother. And Carrie also said that she worried about her mother, that she felt her mother had taken on so much responsibility and, so much effort for her family, for the husbands who deeply disappointed her. So she both worried about her mother and tried to run away from being a celebrity daughter as much as she could. The two of them lived in houses next door to each other, would speak every day. And yet we know in the past there were years when they didn't speak and when Debbie thought she was going to lose her daughter to drugs. This kind of sudden death of your daughter, my guess is she probably heard about Carrie's heart attack on the news along with the rest of it. It was just too much of a shock to the heart. And I don't think Debbie could have lived through it. I don't know exactly how her death came about, but it's interesting that her son would choose to say in a public statement, my mother wanted to be with her daughter.
Jeannie, I'm just having a look at the list of awards that she's received from 1951 right up until 2015. New Star of the Year, Best Supporting Actress, Best Actress, Best Actress. The list goes on and on and on. Favourite Supporting Actress, Outstanding Performer in a Children's Special. How do you think the world of Hollywood will remember her?
I think the world of Hollywood will remember Debbie as a great dame, a great broad, as somebody who survived fame and enjoyed fame, loved the attention, loved to sing and dance, even except for the last few years when she wasn't well. Debbie was always up for a benefit, always there, showed up for the community. And I also think they'll always remember her as this sweet, innocent, the kind of daughter every mother dreamed of, the kind of gal every man would, long see her in the movies and long to have in his life. I think she's extremely well thought of and beyond well thought of, loved in this community.
And just on that point, the fact that she is beyond loved in this community, I mean, how will Hollywood respond? How will Hollywood recover from another death? A mother, 84 years old, so close to the period that her daughter died just a few hours before, really.
I think what you'll hear, even though people may not want to say it out loud, is the cliche that you couldn't write a Hollywood movie and have it be believable about a mother and a daughter dying in this way. I think you'll hear that saying over and over again. You can't make this stuff up. Fiction can't touch the harsh reality of this sudden, unexpected, out-of-the-blue death of two women who were highly regarded and cared for.
Okay, Jeannie Wolf, entertainment correspondent, many thanks indeed for joining us this morning. Jeannie reporting, commenting on the death of Debbie Reynolds, who has died in Los Angeles at the age of 84. Debbie Reynolds, the mother of Carrie Fisher, who had just recently passed away. We understand that she had been planning the funeral of Carrie along with her son Todd. We now know that she has suffered a stroke after the death of her daughter. Debbie Reynolds really rising to stardom in the 1950s, famously remembered for playing that part in Singing in the Rain. A very fascinating life, during what was a very fascinating period, rising to fame in the 1950s as a very young person, a young woman, and she brought down the many barriers that would have been facing women of a certain age during that period, and she became one of Hollywood's greatest actors, a member of Hollywood royalty. She was rushed to hospital yesterday after reports that she had suffered, an elderly lady had suffered a stroke. This was according to the celebrity website TMZ magazine. It has now been confirmed to us that she has passed away at the age of 84. Born Mary Frances Reynolds on the 1st of April 1932 in El Paso, Texas. She was the daughter of Maxine Harmon and Raymond Francis Reynolds, who was a carpenter for the Southern Pacific Railway. So tragic breaking news coming into a Sky News Centre this morning. Debbie Reynolds, the mother of Carrie Fisher, has died at the age of 84. Stay with us.